The harsh Arctic wind howled across the frozen wasteland as Dr. Sarah Chen stared at her equipment in disbelief. The energy readings were unlike anything she had ever seen before. Her research team had been drilling through the ice for the past 3 months, following strange signals that their instruments had detected deep below the surface. "Dr. Chen, you need to see this," Tom Roberts, her assistant, called out from the main drilling station. His voice trembled with excitement over the radio. The massive drilling platform had finally broken through to what appeared to be an artificial cavity beneath 2 miles of solid ice. Initial scans showed a space larger than 5 football fields. As the team lowered their cameras into the darkness below, everyone in the control room fell silent. The lights from their equipment revealed something impossible: smooth metallic walls that seemed to stretch endlessly in every direction. "This can't be natural," Dr. Chen whispered, her breath fogging up the screen. The walls weren't just metal. They were covered in strange patterns that seemed to pulse with a faint blue light. High above Earth's atmosphere, on board the Galactic Coalition's observation vessel, Commander Zix 427 noticed an alert flashing on his monitor. The energy signature from the human drilling site had just spiked dramatically. He quickly sent an urgent message to Coalition Command. "The humans have found it." Back on the surface, the research team prepared to send their first drone into the cavity. As they watched the video feed, their jaws dropped in amazement. The drone's lights revealed a massive structure that could only be described as a hangar bay. But this was unlike any military installation ever built by human hands. The ceiling stretched hundreds of feet high, and in the center sat something that made Dr. Chen's heart skip a beat. A massive ship, perfectly preserved in the ice. It was easily the size of an aircraft carrier, but its design was completely alien. Yet somehow, it also felt strangely familiar. "Get me military command on the line right now," Dr. Chen ordered, her eyes never leaving the screen. She knew this discovery would change everything. Within hours, the site was swarming with military personnel. General Marcus Hayes stood next to Dr. Chen as they watched more detailed scans of the facility appear on their screens. "How old is it?" the general asked, his face stern but his eyes wide with wonder. "That's the strange part," Dr. Chen replied, checking her data again. "Our initial readings suggest it's been here for at least 100,000 years. But that's impossible. Humans didn't have this kind of technology back then. We barely had stone tools." As the team continued their investigation, they discovered something even more shocking. Near what appeared to be the main entrance, they found markings etched into the metal. Dr. Chen's hand shook as she translated the symbols. "This can't be right," she muttered, checking her calculations again and again. "What is it?" General Hayes demanded. "The markings, they're in an ancient form of human writing. This ship, it's ours. Or at least, it was built by humans." The general's radio crackled to life with an urgent message. Multiple unknown objects had just appeared in orbit around Earth. The Galactic Coalition had arrived, and they seemed very interested in what humans had just uncovered. As if responding to their presence, the entire facility suddenly hummed to life. Blue lights flickered along the walls, and a deep rumble echoed through the ice. On the massive ship, panels began to glow, and ancient systems started to wake up. Dr. Chen and General Hayes watched in awe as a holographic display appeared in front of them, showing words in the same ancient script they had found on the walls. But this time, it was translating itself into modern languages. The message was simple but changed everything they thought they knew about human history. Terra's Guardian. Defender-class Supercarrier, Earth Defense Fleet. General Hayes looked at Dr. Chen, his face pale. "Call the president," he ordered. "Tell him humanity just found out we have a very different past than we thought." Above them, the Galactic Coalition ships moved into attack positions. They had hoped to reach the facility before humans discovered their true heritage. They had failed. Now, everything would change. The ancient facility trembled as more systems activated. Deep in the command center, Dr. Chen watched in amazement as holographic displays filled the air around them. The ship they had discovered wasn't just a carrier. It was a technological marvel beyond their wildest dreams. Everyone out. Now. General Hayes shouted as strange mechanical sounds echoed through the chamber. The research team scrambled towards the exits, but Dr. Chen stood frozen, her eyes fixed on a new hologram taking shape. A figure materialized before them. A woman in an elegant uniform, unlike anything in human history. Her image flickered with shades of blue and gold. "I am HFY, Advanced Responsive Intelligence Assistant," the hologram announced. "Former Chief I of Terra's Guardian. It has been 127,843 years since my last activation." Above the facility, the Galactic Coalition ships had formed a blockade. Their commander, High Admiral Xarvex, stood on his bridge, mandibles clicking with worry. "Impossible," he muttered. "The sleeper ship cannot be awakening. The humans were supposed to remain dormant for at least another millennium." Back in the facility, Aria's hologram walked around the command center, examining the humans with curiosity. "Your genetic markers confirm you are indeed the descendants of my creators, but your technological level is surprisingly primitive." "Who were your creators?" Dr. Chen asked, ignoring the general's orders to evacuate. Aria's form shifted, showing images of an ancient human civilization. "You were. Humanity once ruled the stars. Terra's Guardian was just one of thousands of supercarriers in Earth's defense fleet. Your civilization spanned galaxies." General Hayes received an urgent communication. The coalition ships were powering up their weapons. "We need answers fast," he demanded. "Why don't we remember any of this?" Aria's expression turned solemn. "Because you chose to forget. The sleep protocol was humanity's most closely guarded secret. When the galaxy faced a threat beyond even our power, Earth's leaders made an unprecedented decision." The hologram showed scenes of an ancient war. Massive ships battling across space, entire solar systems caught in the crossfire. Rather than risk the enemy acquiring our technology, humanity enacted the Great Sleep. We erased our own memories, hid our technology, and reduced ourselves to a primitive state. The Galactic Coalition was created to watch over Earth, ensuring we remained dormant until the threat had passed. Suddenly, the facility's defense systems activated. Aria's expression hardened. "The Coalition approaches with hostile intent. They have exceeded their mandate." Initiating revival sequence. The supercarrier's engines hummed to life. Ice that had trapped it for millennia began to melt and evaporate instantly. The ship's hull, darker than the deepest space, began to shimmer with lines of energy. "Warning," Aria announced. "Coalition forces are charging weapons, but they forget. Terra's Guardian was built to face far worse threats than them." A message boomed across all frequencies, in all languages. High Admiral Xarvex's voice trembled. "Humans of Earth, power down the facility immediately. You are not ready for this knowledge. The sleep protocol must be maintained." Aria turned to Dr. Chen and General Hayes. "The choice is yours. I can return this ship to dormancy, and you can return to your simple lives. Or," her hologram smiled, "I can show you what humanity truly is." Before they could answer, the Coalition launched their first attack. Energy beams powerful enough to crack a planet streaked toward the facility. Aria raised her hand casually. A shield of pure darkness surrounded the facility and ship. The Coalition's weapons didn't even make it flicker. "Impossible," Xarvex shouted. "Those shields, they're absorbing weapons that could shatter moons." "Shall I show them why Earth's fleet was called the Shadow Armada?" Aria asked, her hologram now glowing with barely contained power. Dr. Chen looked at General Hayes. The fate of humanity hung on their next words. The general nodded slowly. "Show us everything," Dr. Chen said. Aria's form expanded, filling the command center with light, beginning full revival sequence, accessing Earth defense grid, activating all dormant facilities. She paused, looking at the coalition ships above. And may the stars help those who thought they could keep humanity chained. Around the world, ancient powers began to stir. The sleep protocol was ending. Humanity was about to remember who they really were, and the galaxy would never be the same. The ground shook across every continent as ancient facilities awakened from their long slumber. In the Arctic Command Center, ARI's hologram spread her arms wide, displaying a three-dimensional map of Earth. Hundreds of points of light pulsed across the globe. "Behold," she said, "the sleeping giants of Earth." Dr. Chen gasped as the map revealed massive underground complexes on every continent. Hidden beneath mountains, oceans, and deserts lay humanity's true legacy. Each facility was larger than the largest modern cities. "The coalition lie to us," General Hayes growled, watching as more coalition ships arrived in orbit. "They weren't protecting us. They were keeping us prisoner." Aria's expression darkened. "Not exactly. The coalition fulfilled their duty, but fear corrupted their purpose. They were meant to be guardians, not jailers." She paused, her form flickering. "But first, you must understand what you once were." The command center transformed around them. They stood among the stars, watching scenes from humanity's forgotten past. Massive fleets of shadow-black ships moved between galaxies. Cities floated among the stars. Humans walked alongside creatures that defied imagination. "Your civilization spanned 12 galaxies," Aria explained. "You didn't just travel through space, you mastered it. The shadow drive allowed ships to move through the dark spaces between realities. The mind matrices let humans share consciousness across light years." "Then why?" Dr. Chen asked. "Why did we choose to forget all this?" The scene changed to show a massive dark cloud consuming entire star systems. "The Void Plague," Aria said softly. "A weapon created by beings from outside our universe. It didn't just destroy worlds. It consumed consciousness itself, turning entire civilizations into its puppets." Above them, the coalition fleet had grown to over 1,000 ships. High Admiral Carvex's voice boomed again. "This is your final warning. The human race is not ready. The Void Plague still exists, dormant but waiting. Your awakening could trigger its return." Aria showed them more memories. They watched as human scientists discovered that the Void Plague was drawn to advanced consciousness and technology. The more evolved a civilization, the more it attracted the plague. "So we made the ultimate sacrifice," Aria continued. "Instead of fighting a war we couldn't win, humanity chose to hide. The sleep protocol didn't just erase your memories and technology. It restructured human consciousness itself, making your entire species invisible to the plague." Suddenly, Terra's guardian hummed with new energy. Panels opened across its hull, revealing weapons that seemed to bend reality around them. "But you built safeguards," Aria said, smiling. "The sleep protocol was never meant to be permanent. Deep in human DNA, you hid triggers that would slowly prepare humanity to reawaken. The Coalition's fear has kept you dormant far too long. The time for sleep is over." Dr. Chen touched one of the floating displays, and ancient knowledge flooded her mind. "These ships," she whispered, "they're not just weapons, they're teachers." "Correct," Aria nodded. "Each facility contains a library ship, designed to safely restore humanity's lost knowledge. The Supercarriers were merely guardians for something far more precious, your wisdom." General Hayes received urgent reports. Around the world, people were experiencing strange dreams, remembering skills they never learned. The human race was beginning to remember. "The Coalition approaches with 3,000 ships," Aria announced. "They think their numbers will overwhelm us." She laughed softly. "They forget that Terra's guardian once faced millions of void-infected vessels alone." The facility's deepest systems activated. The Supercarrier rose from its icy tomb, its hull absorbing all light around it. But instead of weapons, it deployed thousands of small devices that streaked across Earth's sky. Knowledge pods, Ariad explained. Your ancestors believed that wisdom should precede power. Before we face the coalition, humanity must remember who they truly are, not conquerors, but guardians of life itself. As the pods descended around the globe, millions of humans looked up at the sky. In their minds, ancient memories began to stir. They remembered the stars. They remembered their purpose. And in the depths of space, something ancient and dark sensed the change. The void plague stirred in its slumber, drawn by the awakening of its old enemy. The real war was about to begin. High Admiral Karvek stood on his command bridge, mandibles twitching as he watched Terra's guardian rise into the sky. The ancient supercarrier seemed to devour light itself, its hull rippling like liquid shadow. His tactical officers had no explanation for how a ship that size could move so gracefully through Earth's atmosphere. All ships, open fire, he commanded. Full saturation barrage, don't let it reach orbit. 3,000 coalition vessels unleashed their power. Energy beams, plasma torrents, and quantum torpedoes turned the sky into an inferno. The combined firepower could have shattered a small moon. In the Arctic Command Center, Dr. Chen watched through Aria's holographic display as the barrage approached. "Shouldn't we raise shields?" she asked nervously. Aria smiled. "Terra's guardian doesn't use shields. Watch." The supercarrier made no attempt to dodge. As the coalition's weapons struck, something impossible happened. The attacks didn't bounce off or explode. They simply ceased to exist. The ship's hull rippled slightly, like dark water disturbed by rain. "Void absorption technology," Ariad explained. "Your ancestors learned from their enemy. The hull doesn't block attacks. It feeds on them. Every weapon they fire makes us stronger." General Hayes received urgent reports from around the globe. The knowledge pods were changing everything. Military personnel were remembering ancient combat techniques. Scientists were understanding technologies their ancestors had hidden in their DNA. "Sir," a young lieutenant called out, his eyes glowing with restored memories, "I know how to operate the particle lance arrays. All of them." Zarvex watched in horror as Earth's dormant defense grid awakened. Massive cannons emerged from mountains, deserts, and ocean floors, weapons that had been hiding in plain sight for millennia, disguised as natural formations. "This is impossible," he whispered. "Their weapons are synchronizing with untrained humans. The technology is adapting to their primitive minds." Aria's hologram appeared on every screen in the Coalition fleet. "You were meant to protect humanity while they slept, Admiral. Instead, you became their wardens. The sleep protocol is ending. Stand down." "We can't," Zarvex shouted. "The void plague still exists. Your awakening will draw it here." Terra's guardian finally reached orbit. Its hull began to transform, sections shifting and flowing like living metal. What had appeared to be a simple carrier was revealing its true form. "By the stars," a coalition officer breathed. "It's a world engine." The supercarrier split apart, its components spreading across Earth's orbit in a complex geometric pattern. Dark energy flowed between the pieces, forming a massive web. "The Shadow Network is online," Aria announced, beginning planetary defense grid integration. Across Earth, millions of humans suddenly felt a gentle presence in their minds. The ancient defense systems weren't just accepting them as operators, they were teaching them, updating centuries of lost knowledge in moments. "You don't understand what you're doing," Zarvex pleaded. "The plague corrupts advanced consciousness. Your technologies will draw it like a beacon." "No, Admiral," Aria replied. "You don't understand. Humanity didn't just hide from the plague. They spent their sleeping years preparing for its return. Every human child born, every generation that passed, altered your species at the quantum level." Dr. Chen felt it then, a strange new awareness. She could sense the defense grid, the ancient weapons, even the thoughts of others connected to the Shadow Network. But it wasn't overwhelming. It felt natural, like remembering how to ride a bicycle. The sleep protocol wasn't surrender, HFY continued. It was evolution. Humanity used their time in darkness to change their very nature. You're no longer the beings that fled the plague. You've become something new. To demonstrate, Terra's Guardian pulled energy from the shadow network. The ship's fragments reassembled, but differently. It was no longer just a warship. It was a key, a template for humanity's new form. General Hayes understood first. We didn't hide our weapons in bunkers, he said in awe. We hid them in ourselves, in our children, in our future. Zarvex had one final card to play. He activated his quantum beacon, sending a signal into deep space. If you won't listen to reason, he growled, then let the plague decide. I've broadcast our location. If I'm right, it will come. Aria's hologram smiled. We were counting on that, Admiral. Humanity is done running. The real war begins now. In the darkness between galaxies, something ancient stirred. The signal reached it, and for the first time in eons, the Void Plague sensed its old enemy. But as it turned its attention toward Earth, it found not the bright beacon of civilization it remembered, but something different, something it had never encountered before. Humanity had learned to fight darkness by becoming shadows themselves. The shadow network pulsed with new energy as more ancient facilities activated across Earth. But what emerged wasn't just military bases, they were something far more profound. These are Genesis cradles, Aria explained, showing Dr. Chen and General Hayes a massive underground complex beneath the Amazon rainforest. Your ancestors didn't just hide their technology. They merged it with Earth's biosphere. The facility was alive. Living metal intertwined with massive tree roots. Crystalline computers grew like mineral formations. Even the air seemed to shimmer with conscious purpose. Each human generation, Aria continued, was subtly guided by these facilities. Every child born near a Genesis cradle absorbed quantum-level changes into their DNA. Humanity didn't evolve during the sleep protocol. You were being redesigned. High above, the Coalition fleet watched in stunned silence as mountains began to move. What they had thought were natural formations revealed themselves as camouflaged megastructures. But instead of rising up, they were sinking down, merging with the Earth itself. By the eternal void, Zarvex whispered. They turned their entire planet into a weapon. In orbit, Terra's Guardian continued its transformation. The world engine configuration was spreading, creating a lattice of living shadow around Earth. But it wasn't a weapon grid, it was a template, showing humanity's new form. Dr. Chen felt the changes in her own body. The knowledge pods hadn't just restored memories, they had activated dormant genes. Her consciousness expanded, connecting with the shadow network in ways that defied traditional physics. I can see them, she gasped. The quantum threads, they're everywhere. Connecting everything. We're not just remembering who we were, we're becoming something new. Aria nodded. The sleep protocol had 3 phases. First, the Great Sleep, hiding your technology and memories. Second, the Long Dream, subtly reshaping humanity over thousands of generations. Now begins the 3rd phase, the Awakening. Around the world, humans were discovering abilities that seemed impossible. Children could instinctively interface with ancient tech. Adults found themselves understanding sciences that hadn't existed for millennia. But it wasn't chaos. It was orchestrated, planned over countless generations. Your ancestors knew the Void Plague fed on traditional technology and consciousness, Ariad explained. So they created something it had never encountered: biodigital evolution, the fusion of organic life, quantum computing, and shadow technology. General Hayes received reports from military bases worldwide. Modern weapons and vehicles were spontaneously upgrading, merged with awakening ancient tech. Jets transformed mid-flight, their metal becoming living shadow. Submarines evolved, developing abilities that seemed magical. But the most stunning transformation was happening to Earth itself. The Genesis cradles weren't separate facilities. They were nodes in a planetary nervous system that had been growing for 127,000 years. Earth isn't just your homeworld, HFY revealed. It's the first and greatest of the world ships. A living vessel, ready to carry humanity back to the stars. Xarvex watched his tactical displays in horror. The human evolution was accelerating. Each passing moment made his weapons more useless. The Coalition's most advanced sensors couldn't even detect the transformed humans anymore. They existed partially in shadow space. "The signal I sent," he said quietly. "I've doomed us all. When the Void Plague arrives." "You did exactly what we expected," ARIA interrupted. "The third phase required a catalyst." But even as humanity embraced their new evolution, sensors detected a disturbance at the edge of the solar system. The Void Plague had answered Xarvex's call. It was time to test humanity's transformation against the ancient enemy that had forced them to sleep so long ago. The shadows were about to war with the void itself. The Void Plague emerged from deep space like a living darkness, consuming light and matter. But what it found at Earth was unlike anything it had encountered in its eons of existence. Through the shadow network, Dr. Chen watched the ancient enemy approach. It wasn't just a cloud of darkness anymore. She could see its true form. The plague was a vast intelligence that existed in the spaces where reality broke down. "All Genesis cradles are at full power," ARIA announced. "Humanity's quantum evolution is complete. Shall we show our old enemy what we've become?" Terra's Guardian began its final transformation. The world engine configuration collapsed, its fragments flowing like liquid shadow. But instead of reforming into a ship, it spread through the transformed humans themselves. "The Supercarrier was never just a weapon," ARIA explained. "It was a seed, a template for humanity's new form." High Admiral Xarvex watched in awe as humans across Earth changed. Their bodies flickered between dimensions, existing simultaneously in normal space and shadow space. The Coalition's sensors couldn't track them anymore. They had become quantum ghosts. "Begin the symphony of shadows," ARIA commanded. Millions of transformed humans rose into the sky, their bodies trailing streams of living darkness. They moved in perfect harmony, guided by the shadow network's collective consciousness. Earth itself seemed to pulse with power, the Genesis cradles turning the entire planet into a weapon of impossible design. The Void Plague struck first, launching tendrils of unreality that had destroyed countless civilizations. But when they touched the transformed humans, something unprecedented happened. "We are not prey anymore," Dr. Chen's voice echoed across dimensions. Her quantum-evolved consciousness let her speak directly into the plague's awareness. "We learned from you. We became the darkness between darkness." The humans began their counterattack. They didn't use conventional weapons. They used their very existence as a weapon. Each transformed human was a living paradox, a being that could exist in the same spaces the plague used to destroy reality. Impossible. The Void Plague's consciousness recoiled. For the first time in its existence, it felt fear. These weren't the bright, technological beings it was used to consuming. They were something else, shadows that fought back. General Hayes led a squadron of quantum-evolved fighters. Their bodies phased between dimensions, weaponizing the very principle that had made them invisible to the plague during their long sleep. The sleep protocol wasn't about hiding. He transmitted across all frequencies. It was about learning to fight in the dark. The Genesis cradles activated their final protocol. Earth's biosphere itself joined the battle. Plants, animals, even bacteria had been subtly evolved over millennia. The entire planetary ecosystem became a weapon against the void. Aria's consciousness spread through the shadow network, coordinating the attack. "Execute the Twilight Paradox," she commanded. The transformed humans began to sing, not with voices, but with their quantum-evolved existence. Each human became a note in a vast symphony that rewrote the laws of reality. The song spread through shadow space, creating patterns that the Void Plague couldn't comprehend. This is the true power of Terra's guardian. Ariad explained to the watching coalition fleet. Not the ship, not the weapons, but the ability to turn an entire species into living shadow warriors. The Void Plague tried to retreat, but it was too late. The Symphony of Shadows had trapped it. Billions of quantum-evolved humans moved in perfect harmony, their existence creating a prison of living paradox. We did not evolve to destroy you, Dr. Chen communicated to the trapped plague. We evolved to contain you, to become your eternal guardians. The truth of humanity's plan finally became clear. They hadn't prepared for a war of annihilation. They had prepared to become something far more profound. Custodians of the void itself. Earth pulsed with one final surge of power. The Genesis cradles activated their ultimate function, transforming the entire Sol system into a vast quantum prison. A cage made of living shadows, maintained by a humanity that had evolved beyond the plague's understanding. High Admiral Xarvex fell to his knees on his command bridge. "We were wrong," he whispered. "They didn't sleep because they were weak. They slept to become strong enough to guard reality itself." But even as humanity celebrated their victory, Ari had detected something strange in the quantum readings. The Void Plague wasn't just a weapon, it was a message. And now that humanity had evolved enough to contain it, they could finally understand what it was trying to say. The real mystery was about to begin. As the quantum-evolved humans contained the Void Plague within their living prison, Ari's consciousness expanded through the shadow network. The ancient AI had finally gained access to the plague's core intelligence, and what she found there changed everything. "It's a test," she announced, her hologram flickering with newfound understanding. The Void Plague wasn't a weapon. It was an initiation. Through the shadow network, every transformed human could see it now. Hidden within the plague's quantum structure was a message, written in a language that could only be understood by beings who had evolved beyond conventional existence. "Greetings, Shadowborn," the message began. "If you are reading this, your species has achieved the Great Transition." Dr. Chen floated in shadow space, her quantum-evolved consciousness interpreting the ancient message. There were others before us, she realized. Other civilizations that chose to become living shadows. The Genesis cradles pulsed with new energy as Earth itself processed this revelation. The entire planet, now a living ship of impossible design, adjusted its quantum frequencies to reveal what had been hidden in plain sight all along. Throughout the galaxy, patches of what seemed like empty space began to shimmer. Vast networks of shadow civilizations became visible to humanity's new senses. Entire species that had evolved beyond normal spacetime, waiting to welcome Earth into their hidden cosmos. The Galactic Coalition. General Hayes understood suddenly. They weren't just watching us. They were maintaining our quarantine until we were ready. High Admiral Xarvex's ship received a transmission unlike any before. Through his view screen stepped a being of pure shadow stuff, its form shifting between infinite possibilities. "I am the voice of the Shadow Conclave," it announced. "For 1,000,000 years, we have watched species face the Void Plague. Most fail, choosing to fight darkness with light. But a few, like humanity, learn to embrace the void, to become one with the shadows." Terra's guardian, now fully integrated with Earth's transformed biosphere, reconfigured itself one final time. The Supercarrier's true purpose was revealed, not as a weapon of war, but as a key to unlock humanity's place among the shadow realms. The Sleep Protocol, Ariad explained, was designed by the Shadow Conclave themselves. When they found Earth's primitive civilization, they saw potential. They gave your ancestors a choice: face the plague then and likely perish, or enter the Great Sleep and evolve into something greater. Across Earth, the Genesis cradles began their final transformation. The entire planet pulsed with living shadow energy, its quantum structure aligning with the hidden networks of shadow civilizations that span the cosmos. "Welcome, children of Earth," the Shadow Conclave transmitted. "You have earned your place among the guardians of reality." But humanity had one final surprise for their new allies. During their long sleep, they had evolved something unique, a way to bridge the gap between normal space and shadow space. The quantum ghosts of Earth could exist in both realms simultaneously. "We will not abandon the light," Dr. Chen declared, her consciousness resonating through both realities. "Earth will be a bridge between worlds, a place where shadow and light can coexist." The Coalition fleet watched in awe as Earth seemed to flicker between dimensions. The transformed humans had become living bridges, able to walk in both the world of light and the realm of shadows. "The age of division is over," Araya announced. "No more will civilizations have to choose between light and shadow. Earth will show them a new way." The Genesis cradles activated their final protocol, spreading their quantum evolution technology across the galaxy. Not to transform other species by force, but to offer them a choice: to remain as they were, to become pure shadow, or to walk the twilight path that humanity had pioneered. Terra's Guardian, now a living symbol of this new order, took its place among the great shadow ships of the Conclave. But unlike the others, it glowed with both darkness and light, a testament to humanity's unique evolution. The real purpose of the Sleep Protocol, the voice of the Conclave revealed, was not just to help you survive. It was to create something entirely new. You are the first twilight species, the bridge between realities. As the Shadow Realms celebrated Earth's ascension, Dr. Chen, General Hayes, and even High Admiral Tarvex realized they were witnessing not just the end of one era, but the birth of something greater. Humanity had not just survived the Great Test. They had transformed it, creating a new path that would forever change the cosmos. The children of Earth had become the guardians not just of shadow or light, but of all reality itself. And somewhere in the quantum depths of shadow space, the Void Plague, now revealed as the Conclave's great teacher, watched with satisfaction as its newest students took their place among the stars. The long sleep was over. The age of twilight had begun.